coming at you on November 4th, Sunday at 7:33 p.m. This is the Hungover podcast recorded live in front of no one. Well, there's a Twitch audience somewhere.
The world.
The world. You can catch this podcast on twitch.tv/jujubesgood, recorded live. Catch all of the mishaps and mistakes that are edited out, but you can also catch the edited version on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and of course in video form on YouTube at the Hungover Gaming YouTube channel. I'm one of your hosts, Julien, alongside
Yvonne, and I'm here to tell you we're going to talk about our fantastic weeks coming up soon and the upcoming week with all sorts of news about the midterm elections and how different things are going to be influencing the vote and how to get out the vote and why it's important that we, the youth, are the voting public.
Of course, this is assuming you're in America and can vote.
Yeah, that's also true.
that's
can
pretty
vote,
important.
But aren't in America?
Look, your vote is always
Absentee
important. Just do that. Anyways, Yvonne, we have to apologize to the people that we did not put out a podcast last week. You know, sometimes
it's absolutely my
life
fault.
Gets in the way. But nonetheless, we're going to try our hardest, our very hardest to get a podcast out every single week, because you can get this podcast every single week on Mondays, usually. Anyways, Yvonne, we start our podcast out every single week by asking each other, what media have you been consuming, and what did you drink last night? So you've been working hard, but you still managed to find some time for yourself. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about it?
Just like moments here or there. So I've been working like a lot. The reason that I didn't have time to record the podcast last week is that I did my first 80-hour week in a very long time, and my first 80-hour week since we've been recording the podcast.
Of course.
So,
of course,
wasn't able to balance everything out, and I was just exhausted. And these 2 days, this Saturday and Sunday, are the first days off where I didn't have to go in and work that I've had in like 2 weeks. And I understand a lot of people have that kind of schedule. But it was difficult on me because it was just super disorienting going from...
It's difficult for everyone who does that, so don't worry. Fine,
going from like 20 to 40 hours a week maximum to like 8 hours in 1 week was just like, whoa. I got really disoriented really fast, and just working really long hours on the movie I'm working on. I come home and basically I fall asleep an hour after I get home, so... haven't played a lot of video games.
That's really sad because, you know, video games
I really like it.
Are great.
Yeah. I haven't played a lot of video games, haven't watched any movies in theaters, and haven't basically had time to do anything. I haven't even been able to cook.
Damn.
But thank God that this weekend came and I got a little time to myself. Last night, Laura and I went to see a local show called Possessing Harriet. It was the world premiere of this play, which has been workshopped for 3 years.
Syracuse?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So one of the he's a current professor at SU, Kyle Bass. He's, at least he's associated professor with SU. He's also at Syracuse Stage, which is the stage which is associated with SU, but is also like the major regional theater here. He has a very important title. It's like creative director or something. Anyway, he wrote this play called Possessing Harriet. It is about when Harriet then Powell meets Elizabeth Cady, not Katie Stanton yet, who, as history might recall, is Elizabeth Cady Stanton is a big feminist figure, and she is there with her cousin Garrett Smith and a man named Thomas Leonard, also who helped escape slaves, etc. Himself was an escaped slave, and it's kind of an imagined conversation of the four of them. Very cool. And it was exceedingly well written. One of the things that really surprised me was how well the author of the playwright, was able to mesh together these through lines of thoughts and ideas and feelings and emotions about talking about race and class, and how these things, he could periodize them within the time of like 1839, but make them connect to a modern day discourse. And just the power of the words to be able to match the discourse in both time periods is at once incredibly astounding, but also really, really sad, because it means that we're still having kind of the same conversations almost 200 years later.
Mm-hmm. And is that coming out anywhere else, or is it just going to stay in Syracuse?
So I think there's a 9-show... there's a 9-show run here, and then I think at some point it will spread across as it gets picked up in different places, as I don't really know how plays work in terms of their production and everything.
Okay.
But it was really, really intensely good, and it was a really good way to spend an evening. And before that, we went to an Italian restaurant where I got to critique all the food. I was like, I could make a better risotto than this. But I had a Barbera d'Asti, which was pretty good. Or
Okay.
Barbara d'Asti. I don't know. It's very fruit forward. It's kind of Pinot Noir, Tuscan style.
Okay.
In my opinion. Whatever
Sounds
as
good.
it might be. And the most important thing is that Friday I saw The Room and The Disaster Artist back to back with a group of friends, and I
must have been
stocked
fun.
my bar. So I took a lot of the earnings that I made in the past 2 weeks, and I put them towards stocking a bar for many weeks to come.
That's exciting.
So I
Very
dropped
exciting.
like $230 on bar stuff.
I mean, it's all worth the money, I'm guessing, unless you bought like shit alcohol.
So I got Hendrick's gin.
Yeah.
Is it 14 or 1749 or 1497? 1749, I think, or 1497. Fuck, I can't remember. The bourbon. Then some Bacardi rum and a tequila. I also got a vodka, Russian standard, obviously. Ruski standard.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a bunch of liqueurs so that I could make drinks. I got a hazelnut, I got an amaretto, I got a ginger, and then I got a Kahlua. And that stocked out my bar for quite some time. I think I can
That's
make
exciting.
a lot of cocktails. Yeah, and I think it was a good precursor. I also got limoncello because I enjoy it as a nightcap every once and again.
It is a great drink, I must admit.
So in terms of what I've been drinking is a bunch of kind of taps into those kinds of things. Now that they're available to me, I just drink a little bit of whatever I want. I also made a cinnamon simple syrup.
Nice.
So I made the one cocktail that I've been working to try and perfect is the aloe gimlet.
Okay.
So, like, instead of using simple syrup, I'm using aloe vera as that intense sweetness. Slightly less sweetness than, like, simple syrup, but it also gives it a more herbaceous taste, I think.
That's nice.
So,
That's nice.
my basic recipe is, like, gin, and then basically equal parts aloe vera to the gin.
Are you buying the plant?
No, I bought like an aloe vera juice.
Oh, okay. So that's why it's sweet, I think. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I actually just saw it for the first time in aloe vera actually being cut up, and it fucking blew my mind that shit is actually inside the plant.
Yeah.
I thought it was processed and like put into Jello or something, but it's like actually in the plant. The Jello is actually in there. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
How is that
Laura
natural?
has an aloe plant, so
You should
I've
cut that up
seen her
instead.
do it before. It was crazy. And then she, of course, put it up on like a very high shelf away
Mhm.
from everything, and was like, "This is
Including the
aloe.
sun.
We can use it for burns or whatever." And then like 2 months later, I go like, "What is this moldy, gross, disgusting bullshit up
Oh
here?"
my god, gross. Just died. You guys forgot about it?
Yeah, it was just the aloe juice just molded.
Oh,
up on
it leaked out. I didn't know it leaks out. It's
No,
gross.
no, she squeezed the aloe juice out of the
Oh, and
out of
left
the
it
leaf,
there.
and then just left it up there instead of putting it in the fridge.
That's how
It
you
was
get
great.
ants.
We do have a mouse. I set up a goddamn like a couple of mouse traps. I need to quiz you on how you set up that bottle trap.
Sorry, I was just thinking of how I've actually caught a mouse with, I think I've told you, and also on this podcast I've told
Yeah, it was
many
like our
times.
second or third podcast. Go check
Yeah.
out Drunk Stories
Drunk
Part 1.
Stories
We've
Part
never
1.
done Drunk Stories Part 2, but
It
mostly
will-
because I'm exhausted of Drunk Stories. I don't really know that I have many more. Cogent ones at least. Anyway, and so yeah, tune into that one to discover how Julien catches a mouse in his house. I'm working on mouse traps, the basic things. This motherfucker stole the seeds out of the mouse trap, activated the mouse trap, and still got out.
Oh my god, a smart ass mouse. I see how it is.
Fucking Gus.
God damn it, man. That's crazy.
Anyway, so my week has been mostly filled with just working on this movie and working at the coffee shop. A little bit of Black Ops 4, which I
Nice.
have
You
the
squeezed them
lovely Julien to play. I mean, we played together a little
Oh,
bit, like
that
half an
one
hour
time,
that one night.
like,
Yeah, that
a
was
week
basically.
ago. I thought
that
you
was-
were able to squeeze some in when I wasn't on it. Oh
Yeah,
shit, you
basically,
already
no.
prestige? That's crazy.
And then I played a little bit, I played some video games last night
Nice.
as the time hopped. So I got. Like
I saw
an
you
hour
were
more of
online, I
video
think,
games.
somewhere. Oh, I saw you were online on PlayStation this morning or something. I don't know.
Yeah, so speaking of old video games, I was looking for another video game for Laura and I to play.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, hey, Laura likes like these fantasy franchises like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. I don't know why
Okay.
I'm going stupid all of a sudden. I couldn't remember what these were. So I was like, oh, Lego games would be
Yeah.
awesome because we can play them 2-player. So we got I bought the Harry Potter collection, which was
Nice.
$20 for all like 7 years of Harry Potter.
Very cool.
And so we started playing this morning, and we played. We got through the first level, and the game crashed.
What?
So we had to redo the whole thing. You know,
That's
that
annoying.
intense graphics and
Of- yeah,
processing
just
power
blew
of
up your
fucking
PS4.
Lego. Anyway, it was really annoying, but Laura was a good sport about it. I was like,
It doesn't
well, we could
autosave or anything?
It
That's
didn't. It didn't autosave at all.
Game developers, man.
During
What's
the
wrong
first
with them?
level. I don't know.
What's the matter?
Afterwards, you can see the little head bombing, so it does have that, but it didn't for the first level, I don't think. So we had to replay the whole first level again, basically. Like, we were one cutscene away from ending the level, and it crashed on us.
God damn, man, that sucks.
Yeah, but we did it. We true wizarded the first 2 levels. Come at us, Lego. So we got
Platinum
all
trophy.
them studs.
Here we come.
And then I ran over Laura 10 times, so I got another trophy. There's a
That's
little
awesome.
cart that you can ride around in, and I crushed her like 10 times. It was like every single time we played video games together, and it was co-op, and we were like, oh, let's go this way. And I was like, I'm going to pull the
Gonna
map off
ruin
the other
everything.
side.
Gonna ruin everything. Great.
I mean, how can you not do that when you're playing video games with somebody else?
I just want to win, Yvonne. I
It's
just
like
want
when
to
you
win.
ninja loot in Diablo and you're accidentally teleporting to the beginning of the dungeon.
Well,
Anyway,
anyways.
I am
Anyways.
excited to hear from a person who's actually had time to do things.
I
what you
have.
we did the ropes course yesterday too. Like
Cool.
yesterday was our like action-packed day. Laura braved her fear of heights to do the ropes course, and it was a lot of fun. And I think we should do the ropes course.
Okay. I
when
don't
you-
know what
when you
that
come to
is,
visit
but
us
that
here.
sounds like
So in the
fun.
mall, there's like a 3-leveled ropes course.
Yeah.
That's like hanging 2 floors above the ground.
That's cool.
And so you're strapped into a harness and you walk through a series of like obstacles.
Okay.
Like there are beams that are this wide, there are beams that are this wide. Some have things that you hold on to. Others are just like you hold on to your harness strap. Or if you want the extra challenge, you just hold on to nothing.
Okay.
Laura did really well. Cool. But some little kid absolutely peed themselves.
That's gross.
And there was a little girl who was like 6 years old who was just like, I'm too scared to cross. She was halfway through, and her friend was like going around the other way. Anyway, it was a good time. Good times are had by all except for the little kid who peed themselves. Anyway, Julien, what happened to you?
Well, I'll try to keep it brief so we can hit the topic of the show, which is an important topic. But I did, in the past 2 weeks, I managed, obviously Halloween passed, so I managed to go see with a couple of friends the new Halloween movie, 2018. And, you know, it was really intense. I highly suggest watching that movie. It was really well paced, and I felt really tense the whole time. And even though I knew what was coming, like, it's clearly. So Jamie Lee Curtis comes back in this movie, and also funnily enough, her daughter is Kitty from Arrested Development.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which has made me laugh a little bit, but also she does a great job in the movie. And this movie is you know, it's half making fun of the classic Halloween from 1978, I believe that's when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very old, not very, very old, but an old but classic horror movie. So this movie aims to, you know, bring that movie into the 2018. So and also, you know, try to you know, finish the story or continue the story, that type of thing. That's what Jamie Lee Curtis is setting out to do. Basically, it ignores all of the other Halloween movies as well. So it's essentially a direct sequel to the original Halloween movie, which is pretty cool. It takes place 40 years after, of course, you know, in real time as well, which is pretty cool. And you know, they make Michael Myers an incredibly scary force to deal with. And all the kills, you know, some of them were a little gory for my taste, but they were still, you know, they were still incredibly scary. I think they upped his ability to kill as well. He becomes basically like a superhuman force.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That he goes from being like. In the first movie, he was like super strong, but in this movie, he's like Superman strength levels.
Right, yes, definitely Superman strength. I mean, I won't spoil anything now. I think I would like to do a Halloween review after Halloween with you. I think that would be cool if you guys end up seeing it. But if you don't, it's fine. I still won't spoil
I would like
anything.
to. This is what I want to see. I really want to see it.
I think it's worth seeing, so definitely check it out. It's a really tense movie, and Jamie Lee Curtis is awesome in it. I think she did a great job. I don't necessarily know how good of a job I mean, I saw the original Halloween also on 2 days ago on Friday for the first time also. And also, come to think of it, I was so confused with who Michael Myers was because I thought I could have swore he was Jason. Because they're the same fucking
Everybody confuses Jason, Freddy Krueger, and Michael Myers.
I don't mistake Freddy and Jason. I mistake Jason. I didn't even know Michael existed until this movie, actually. I had never heard of his name. I only knew Jason. I thought Jason was the Halloween guy, but clearly I'm wrong. And I didn't know. I was just so confused why they would make... Thinking after the movie, I was so confused. Why would they make two characters that are so similar in aesthetic wise anyways? But anyways, both Halloween movies are really cool to compare.
I've actually never seen a Friday the 13th movie.
Neither have I.
So I
just
have
know
no idea about them.
I haven't seen any of these movies except for Halloween apparently now. So there are a lot of scenes that pay homage to the original Halloween. And you'll definitely see that if you've seen both of them in the new movie. So
what I thought was interesting about original Halloween is the pacing is pretty slow.
Yes, very
it's
slow.
It's not
movie.
Gory, and it's very few like anxiety, running scared moments.
Okay, then this new one, it's like, holy shit, they turn it up to 11. It's a lot
Yeah,
of anxiety.
that's
It,
what I thought. It's like in Halloween, it's just like that like modern horror movie, like you're running away from whatever the bad guy is
yeah,
for like half the movie. Like it is basically like half the movie. In the original Halloween, it's like the last 20 minutes of
yes,
an
definitely,
hour and
right.
a half movie. So it was
I
really, it
agree.
was because like the first hour of the movie is just like setting up Loomis looking for Michael.
Hmm.
And there's basically nothing else.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. The original Halloween, I'm not entirely sure why it's so popular. I didn't necessarily like it that much, but it was cool to go back and see what horror movies were like back then, because obviously I only have the frame of reference of the movies I've seen. So, other than that, I also saw Rumble in the Bronx again. That
A plus
movie
plus.
confuses me so much how they did the audio, specifically with the audio. Okay, I mean a lot of things confuse me about this movie. So it's a Jackie Chan movie where
Classic.
Jackie is coming from I'm guessing is Hong Kong, and he's coming to visit his uncle, and he's visiting in New York City in the Bronx, and he gets involved with blood diamonds essentially, and he has to fight a whole mob, which is cool, great. Jackie's set up for some big ass fights where he's going to kill a lot of people or beat up a lot of people. That's awesome. And this movie it's really interesting how they did this. So clearly they wanted, so okay, the audio is dubbed. The English audio is, they've dubbed it in English, or at least this is the Netflix version that I saw. They have the English audio dubbed and but they've dubbed like the entire movie, I think. But they have Jackie do his English audio for the English dubbing because some scenes have some Chinese in it. So they dub it into English. And then I think literally everyone in the movie can speak English because they also speak English. All the Chinese people, that is, can speak English. You have to go rewatch at least the beginning scenes to know what I'm talking about, Yvonne.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's just like a mismatching of audio because I feel like they wanted to release it at the same time in China or in Hong Kong and in America. So they would dub it and then also have the Chinese audio playing for the Chinese people. It's like it was so, it's just like a
That's
poor
really
job
weird.
of audio mixing.
Mixing?
But when you look at the movie as a whole, you have all these crazy high budgets, like crazy scenes. Like they rented out in the end of the movie, they have this huge hovercraft just barreling through what is allegedly the Bronx, which clearly none of this movie was filmed in the Bronx. But they have this huge hovercraft just barreling through. They rented out like a fucking boat, dude. A boat hovercraft, and they blew up a building, and they had this Lamborghini that they completely wrecked. They had a huge budget for this movie. And Jackie broke his leg. I watched he like broke his leg because he was water skiing without any skis, and he does all his fucking all his goddamn own stunts. This guy's great.
How's he so cool?
I don't know, but he was really young in the movie and really buff. You know what? I mean, it's on Netflix. I highly suggest people go watch it. A lot of fun. But the audio kept tripping me up. And also, if you're from New York, you clearly know that this is not in the Bronx. But even if you're not from New York, you clearly know this is not in the Bronx. Anyways, another thing came out this weekend, or at least a demo for Tetris Effect. It's free on PlayStation Plus right now. If you're listening live, go check it out. This game is really cool. I am so into this game. So I love Tetris to begin with, but this game takes Tetris to like a crazy new level when it comes to visuals. Everything, it's made for VR, so I mean, you can play it without VR. It's on PlayStation 4. It's a PlayStation 4 exclusive, I believe.
There's a VR Tetris game?
Yes, and I can totally see how it works. It's all about it's a visual experience, and then in the middle of it, you have your Tetris game going on. and all the okay, Vaughn, I you know what, download it on your PlayStation and play a little bit of it, because
I'll
honestly,
have to.
I'm completely sold on how this could work in VR. I think just audio and visual experience, I can totally see how it can just be a very relaxing experience. The reason why it's called Tetris Effect is because, I mean, this has been psychologically studied. The Tetris Effect, I believe that's what they're calling it, is when people get so in tune to the game Tetris that they just block out all other experiences, like, you know, physical experiences outside going on, and they just get super in tune with the game, and it reduces their anxiety levels a lot. So I think this game takes full advantage of that and tries to put everyone in that level of immersiveness into Tetris, and I think it's going to be a really cool game.
Why, like, how did they come about with that study or whatever?
It just happened. I mean, I guess some psychologists knew someone close to them that really liked Tetris, and, you know, started noticing that, and then maybe decided to study that type of effect based off of Tetris, like how people go into a trance-like state, and then also correlated it to Tetris. I'm guessing that's how they came up with that, but this game,
Color me cool. Intrigued.
This game, super cool. I highly suggest. I endorse it completely. I played the demo. It was a lot of fun. Of course, it's classic Tetris, but you can say that. And then I already own Tetris on the PS4, right? There's a Ubisoft version of Tetris that is kind of shit. And you're thinking to yourself, how do you even screw up Tetris? It's not like I don't know how they screwed it up. Like, it was so not fun to play the Ubisoft version of Tetris. But this game, it was not fun at all. This game gets it so right. And it has this crazy level of visual fidelity to it. So I think this is like sleeper hit on PSVR. I'm seriously considering getting a PSVR right now. I'm gonna be looking out Black Friday deals. If I see anything like crazy, I'm probably gonna splurge and get one. It's already, I saw a pretty good deal. It was $350 for the unit with the camera and the motion controllers, and it came with 3 games. So I'm seeing if can we go down to $200, same deal. Just saying, put me there, and I will actually buy it. And of course, the last thing that I have to talk about is the Smash Direct. The 40 whole minutes of Sakurai blowing our minds and also pissing off the internet at the same time, because you know, why would anyone be happy with a goddamn Smash Direct? Fuck these people. Anyways, what came out of it was really cool. They discussed the single player mode. They upped the ante. There's going to be 75 characters at launch, or 74 characters at launch. A little after launch, there will be 75 characters. Then they're going to have 5 DLC characters. That's 80 whole characters. That's fucking insane. And I can't understand why anyone would fucking goddamn get mad at this guy for the fucking work he's put in this goddamn game. They're complaining, oh, the DLC. Why are you trying to get us to purchase something that we don't know what it is? And like, are you seriously trying to find a goddamn excuse to complain about this game that has 75 tailored characters that are from every fucking universe that is your fucking, you know, dream game? It's like, why are you complaining? This game has so much in it, and they're trying to add more over the next year. Just because it was a little shady that they're like, oh, you can purchase this now, but they did it in a very polite Japanese way. They're like, we hope you purchase this, but we totally understand that you don't know what this is. So if you're not fully behind this game, do not purchase this season pass of 5 players. So it's like, oh my. Anyways, that's the drama. The character that pissed everyone off is they're going to be giving out for free if you buy the game before January 31st, 2019. They're going to give you the character Piranha Plant for free. There's a Piranha Plant in the game where it's in like a pot.
Okay.
And it looks like a cool character. I'm not going to lie. The character looks cool. in terms of its moveset. But like everyone's like, well, why didn't you give us Waluigi? Like, dude, he's not gonna give us Waluigi. It doesn't matter. Anyways, this guy, and if
why
he does,
does anybody care about Waluigi this much?
who cares about Waluigi? That piece of shit. All right. Anyways, I also had 4 Rose single barrel. That was a great drink.
It's a great.
But
bourbon.
other than that, let's you know what else pisses everyone off is being told that they have to keep voting, Yvonne, that this vote is so important. Tell me why it's important.
Voting.
It's
not
nauseating how much I need to how much I need to know of what's going on in this midterm election. Maybe you can shed some light on us.
Here's the thing. There's so many reasons for this to be a seminal moment in American politics. Like, historians love to play the card of calming everybody down and saying that this is not the worst American politics has ever been. There was a guy, there was a couple I think there were senators. One senator literally beat down another senator almost to death on the floor of whatever. Before the Civil War, but
wait, that was recently? That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it was during this, like, and that's what historians are like, it's not that bad, we've seen this all before, we're gonna be fine. But really, I don't think we've seen it on this unprecedented level. The just
I hate
bending
how
of reality.
President and precedent are so close. Anyways, keep going.
Principle and principle.
Yes, God. Don't talk to me about this language.
So can you pull up the tracing a meme thing?
Yes.
So if we're to talk about why this election is important, is because the internet changes everything. Mm-hmm. And we've drifted away from a politics that is more centered around facts and knowledge, and it's more and class, and we've shifted into a politics that is almost entirely decided by identity and emotion. And some things that we see happening, the reflection of the turmoil and anxiety of a changing economy, lowering standards of health for many Americans, job security for many Americans, and like just long-term success, like successful feelings, is going down for a lot of Americans. And for the majority, this would be the traditionally like industrialized white middle class families that have seen their wages stagnate over the course of a long period of time, adjusted for inflation. Their dollars aren't going as far. There's not as much stabilization. And they're looking for places to put their blame as they see other groups possibly rise, etc. Like we've talked about identity politics a lot. And the reflection of that is this brand of politics which goes on either side of the aisle. We have Republicans that, or people who support Republicans that have like some super nationalist tendencies, like the guy who just sent out bombs to all of the Democratic leaders. Yeah. This is a guy who espoused like nationalism, was anti-Democrat and liberal, and was really looking to harden the political situation as much as possible. Additionally, there's the other guy who hated Jewish people and went in and shot up the synagogue.
Yeah, that was
like these are very recent examples of the emotional fervor to which this identity politics based anxiety driving forces of like political and economic nature are really affecting people to the point where they're doing drastic things. And we tend to think of those as like terrorist acts, etc., from that only occur in the Middle East, but we've seen more and more cases of extreme violence based on these desires to fulfill or feel connected to this movement that supports their people, the people that they want to have make America great again, right? The code for white nationalism a lot. So this is an important election as a referendum on are we going to continue to allow the check to Trump's turning up the volume on that on disgusting acts and looking to create things like fear over this caravan that we talked about 2 weeks ago, or saying that it's okay to body slam people, or if journalists, if you, like during his election, he was like, if you get into legal trouble, I'll pay for your legal fees if you punch out some of these liberal protesters, right? So like a president who's turning up the volume on that and has no check in the legislative branch, that is a very, very bad place to be. And this is is going to be a referendum on what kind of politics we want to have, what kind of discourse we want to have as Americans. And really, it's a place for America to show that we can return to a place where we can have civil debate, where we can rein in somebody whose ego really is the first like priority over everybody's health, safety, etc. in the nation, and that is kind of where I see the need for this. I don't know, Julian. Do you have a similar thought?
This is definitely one of the most important elections since obviously, well, in quite a long time, I would say. So the reason why, as you eloquently said, it's important is, a lot of people think, I believe, the general consensus in America, I think, if you just ask, like, when and which election is most important, people will generally say the presidential election is the most important election that happens every 4 years in America. But that may be true, may not be true. What this is just as important, if not more important, because of what you said. President Trump and his and his cabinet have no check currently in the governmental system. So that obviously falls on our government and how it's structured. So the way it's generally structured is, we have three major branches. We have, the president, who is generally the face of America. We have our senators and the Congress as well. So what's up for election right now is a bunch of seats in Senate races and across the country,
House.
And the House as well. And so
and then we have governorships as well,
which is what the founding fathers really put this in place for a reason. They didn't want one person to be out there in front speaking for our country and doing whatever quite frankly he wants to do, because it has been a man for our entire country's legacy, of course, life. And so, and I honestly I hope our next president is a woman, but for many reasons. But so that's why our founding fathers put this in place. Checks and balances. It's really important. So this election will effectively, if you want to see a change in this country, if you think that the way it's going is not the correct way, you don't like what's happening, you have to go out and vote, especially if you're in these states that have a crucial seat up for election. And you have to understand who's representing you out there. So and what they represent you for, or what they want to represent. We can
flip over to
seat.
that
So
maybe that midterm election, the
Here.
House tab.
Right. So it's really important to go out and vote. Obviously, you've heard it a million times, but until you actually go and do it, no one will shut up. So it's like, make your decision, or just shut up and go.
It's a really important. As much as everybody in the country who has a voice, I wouldn't know who to vote for any of. They're all pretty much crooks.
That's the wrong consensus, Divine Hailstorm. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
You can say that a lot.
There's a lot of places to pull information about
Right,
who
Divine Hill
the
Storm.
candidates are.
For the audio listeners out there who are not watching this great video on YouTube or on Twitch, Divine Hailstorm chiming in. Of course, thank you so much for tuning into the podcast, Divine Hailstorm. He says he wouldn't know who to vote for anyway. They're all pretty much crooks. And that is the general consensus among a lot of, no offense, or not offense, but young people in America. Not that that's an offensive thing to say. So, like, I generally, I think that there is definitely a lot of money influencing a lot of our politics views and actions, but that is not necessarily true that they're all crooks. So you have to vote in the correct people, or you have to do a little research, spend a little time understanding what people stand for out there. Yeah, that's what
I totally agree. There are several different websites. You can go to your local elections website to research, like, to look up who the candidates are. You can also do a lot. There are a lot of, like, aggregate websites that poll, information about candidates from the what they're saying, or like their ads, or like their basically what their platforms are, and it allows you to see, okay, this is the Republican, this is the Democrat, this is the Independent from the Green Party, etc. What are their stances, and how would I go vote?
Mm-hmm. So I mean, generally, it's really important. There are a few races that a lot of that are under, that you should be watching right now in America. Of course, these states, and if you see you haven't seen any ads for your state, says Divine Hailstorm. Well, do you have cable TV? Maybe that's why. I don't know. I think a lot of political ads are run on television and not necessarily on the internet. So if you spend a lot of your time on the internet watching YouTube videos, I don't think political ads have delved into YouTube ads yet. Do you know if that's true, Vaughn?
I have definitely, before I got YouTube Red, I think I actually think that I got YouTube Red because I was tired of seeing a lot of political ads before the 2016 election.
I don't recall ever seeing any political ads on YouTube. Maybe that's because they're tailored for me, or I watch different things that wouldn't have political ads on them.
It's possible. I think a lot of it is based on where you are, and like just like your internet ID. What was it called? What am I trying to say? Your IP address. And so the ads are geared towards, like, using YouTube in this certain IP address, so you get ads targeted.
Yes.
So it's possible that whatever political action groups or whatever that were working in your area, for instance, were like, hey, there's no use targeting ad revenue or targeting ads in this area because they're going to vote Democrat anyway. You know?
Right.
That's another possibility.
That's a good point, right? I mean, I live in New York City, very liberal area of New York, and we just noticed on this nice info chart here of America. Vaughn lives in two areas, or he goes back and forth between two areas that are leaning towards the Republican side in New York State. So there are some races up for him that.
So my specific district that in Buffalo is actually solid Democrat, but Buffalo suburbs are the 27th, and they all tend to vote Republican. I'm surprised that it's lean Republican as opposed to like solid Republican. You can zoom in on those top areas up there in New York. And then Catco is where I am basically currently right now. That's the Syracuse area. John Catco is an asshole.
I see. He's I see. Leaning Republican. New York 24th district. Cool.
Yeah. John Catco is one of the guys who was solidly in Trump's corner, is helping to take away Medicare and all that stuff for people who, for instance, in Syracuse really need it. Like Medicare or the Obamacare, basically, with a lot of the health insurance practices that are put into place. John Katko is looking to overturn those. He sides with the Republicans, was one of the major people in terms of getting the new tax bill that's going to cost trillions of dollars. That's a Congressional Budget Office estimation. So, it's John Katko is a piece of work.
The Divine Hailstorm says he doesn't see his state on that map. I believe that's probably because you don't have any states where a Congress seat or senator seat is up for contention in terms of where it could possibly go. I believe that's generally what I'm understanding about this. In terms like the gray areas are solid Republican or Democrat.
Solid Democrat, yeah.
So they're most likely 99% possibility it's going to end up as a Republican or Democratic district. So that's probably why you're not seeing your state in this picture here. But that's and I also posted the link in the chat if that's something you want to take a deeper delve into. But Yvonne,
yeah,
enough about the vote, right? People understand, and let's make it finally clear. It's still your responsibility to go out and vote, and it's also your responsibility to make up your mind. Obviously, I don't care if I don't care who you vote for, right? I would prefer.
I do. I care who you specifically view or vote for.
I think it's really important to exercise your rights to go vote and be part of this nation and where it's going. So if our country thinks that if our country thinks that it is going in the right direction and everyone goes out and votes, and that's the way it's going, then that's the vote, then maybe that's what this country on average deserves. All right. I don't like where it's going, so I'm going to go out and vote, and and I believe that, the majority, as we saw, the popular vote, Trump did not win. So I'm just saying, I think that if everyone goes out and votes, the general consensus is that our country is not heading in the right direction in terms of many different issues. So I think that if everyone goes out and votes, we will see a change, and that's why it's so important. But we will not beat a dead horse or whatever. It's still your responsibility to know who's on your ballot and who to vote for. So go ahead and look that shit up, because I'm sick and tired of talking about it too. All right, Yvonne.
Yeah.
What else are we talking about today?
Well,
we've got this meme thing.
Tracing the meme, yeah. So this is an example of when we were talking about how the emotional becomes the practical in today's politics. The slogan "Jobs Not Mobs" was traced by the New York Times. Jobs Not Mobs is a thing that ties into kind of the idea of what Trump is saying, is that Democrats produce mobs and Republicans produce jobs. It's not Republicans who have had multiple mobs and things like that, and people in Charlottesville saying Jews will not replace us. No, it's Democrats, because of the people like Antifa, the anti-fascists.
Yes.
Who are the mob, and so this basically, you can see that the blue dots are Twitter. The larger the dot, the more retweets it gets. As it moves down the list, you see that it now gets integrated into things like Facebook, or with yellow dots or orange dots are Reddit, and the larger the thing, the more upvotes.
Yes. Right,
and
here we go.
As you trace down, you can see that basically it goes from very few Twitter mentions in terms of jobs, not mobs, to just a vast amount of things, and it infiltrates the mass media. And Donald Trump repeats it on his Facebook. Breitbart repeats it.
Okay, well,
So it becomes an intense like conversational piece. Like this is truth. So this is how we can trace that the internet is affecting discourse and dialogue and the words that we say so much more in this election than any previous election. And this kind of like emotional, opinion based, non-fact based discourse is so much stronger now than it ever has been previously.
right, exactly. When your primary source of news is reading tweets and just headlines and whatever's posted on social media, then this is exactly what happens. And
by the way, people who say that they get their news from Twitter are like my least favorite people to talk to.
Hey man, it's how people are interacting with the internet, and where the internet is, how the internet is shaping our attention spans and our general population. Of course, I'm talking about. I know a lot of people do read the news and watch the news and that type of thing, but and I think that, Trump is like the embodiment of that, man. Like, it's crazy that it both happened at the same time. That, we're sort of as we move forward with the internet, we're continually peaking. So we're definitely at peak internet usage right now, right? The internet has come this far, I would say. I don't think the amount of people using the internet in 2017 has been less than, or was more than there are using it in 2018. Every day, more and more people use the internet, and that that platform, the internet, is constantly evolving, right? I mean, there are very few rules in place, unless you're in Europe, of course, to censor what's going up on social media websites and things like that. So when it's like one large game of telephone, right? The internet.
Yeah, it's the echo chamber. And
exactly.
But hey.
And thank you so much for the bits. Cats pass midterm house predictions. Do you have any fun?
I think that the Democrats gain probably upwards of 25 seats.
Yeah, I think that we'll
get into the 30s.
Yeah, I think the Democrats are going to overturn the majority in the House. I think personally they are.
I still don't think that we'll get the Senate, though.
We'll see. We'll see tomorrow, right? Or sorry, Tuesday. It's going to be an exciting time. But Vaughn, what was I? Oh, I was about to ask. I don't know. Is it possible to run on an independent party as an independent senator or an independent Congress? Yes. It is, but obviously, like
Bernie Sanders was an independent who caucused with the Democrats.
Okay, I didn't know that.
For instance.
Okay, that's cool.
There have been several independent senators. Wasn't Joe Lieberman an independent for a long time? Like, wasn't he an independent at some point? Sounds familiar to me. He's the guy who was like, he's an idiot too. He was a Democrat, but then he jumped ship against Obama at some point. Yeah, after 2006, he moved from Democrat to Independent officially.
Okay,
that's interesting. A fucking moron. After Obama helped him win his seat, he still jumped from being a Democrat to an Independent.
I see.
I think whatever.
Well, anyways, my where I think generally where I was talking here, about this Jobsnotmobs hashtag here is really, it's a pretty poignant example of cherry picking your data. So that's something in science that a lot of people do, actually, where they will cherry pick their best results and only present those. So when you cherry pick isolated incidents in where people who could be identified as liberals became violent in one instance and case, and use that as your fighting point, then you get jobs, and then put that on the internet, and then have this massive game of telephone being played. This is how you get hashtag jobs not mobs, I think, generally. So,
I totally agree.
So that's but that being said, I think the same thing can go in the other direction, which of course we have this polarized spectrum of political nonsense going on in our country. I do think that sometimes it can go in the other direction, of course. I don't believe that all Republicans are doing
evil?
the same exact thing. Evil. I don't believe they're all evil. I don't, but a lot of people do on one side, and, they just shut down, put up the barricade like in Call of Duty Black Ops 4, the microwave barricade. It's gonna, fuck everyone. You're not crossing this line. We're not talking here.
No.
So this is generally, I think, what's happening. This is a really good example of actually, and a really cool, now that I think of it, a pretty cool timeline here that we have here starting on October 11th. With this jobs not mobs thing. And Captain Vidya says all politicians are idiots and morons. That's one way to go.
That's the sentiment to combat, right?
Yes.
So we have a variety of feelings, but one that is kind of a recurring course of rhetoric is that all politicians are crooks, idiots, morons. They can't get anything done. They're only there to gain things for themselves. So I think that is just kind of a wrong way to look at it. I think that a lot of the times what we see in terms of politics is these figureheads blabbering on or whatever, but there are a lot of genuinely very smart people who are in politics and getting things done. I just think of Ted Kennedy, who was a really great politician, was intensely smart and poignant, and tried his hardest to get a lot of liberal ideas. He was a lion defender of those, and he's just one example. There are a lot of other examples that come from, for instance, the black community and freedom movement people, like the black freedom movement that led to civil rights action, etc. And those people who became politicians, like John, what's his name? I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. But there are a lot of people who have done real concerted, real life work for causes and then gone into politics, or been soldiers or some level of bureaucrat and gone into politics because they want to continue to serve their country in some specific kinds of ways. I think that to blanket statement everybody in politics as being an idiot or a moron or a crook is just taking Mitch McConnell and taking that lens of a smarmy, good-for-nothing, evil, just bought out by special interest kind of person, mm-hmm. and applying it writ large to all people. Exactly. I think, yeah. So not John McCain, Captain Vidya. John McCain, a good example of a military person. I was thinking of another person. Julien can continue while I come back to the point.
Cats_pass. Thank you so much for the bits. I appreciate them. And of course, we're open to any ideas. Thank you for being parts of the conversations. As you say, Republicans are evil, period. A lot are threatening to take to the streets and cause civil war if the Democrats win the House. I'm not
And
necessarily. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, no, finish your statement, Julian.
Well, I think that's a good example of what you were just saying about, cherry pick, or what I was saying also, cherry picking one and making it one example of, I'm sure a Republican, I'm sure a Republican has said that at some point. Like, or maybe it could have been implied that they said that. They probably never actually said that. I don't know, maybe not. But cherry picking one incident, an isolated incident, and then generalizing it across the entire political spectrum and all of American politics. And I also had another example. You were saying people who were military and then going into politics, and did great things and then went into politics. An example of someone who was in politics and then went out and started doing some great things was our, still alive president, Jimmy Carter. He was, debatably a boring God damn it. The sirens are directly outside of my window, so I'm sorry, I can't stop that. But of course they are. Where would they be? But I just live on that sort of street. But Jimmy Carter, a boring president. But since after his presidency, in the many years since then, he has done a lot of work to cure a lot of diseases, or at least find a cure, try to work towards a cure of a lot of different diseases across Africa and the country, and our country and the world. So he's done a lot of humanitarian work outside of his presidency. So,
by the way, not a boring presidency.
Thank
Jimmy Carter. What an intense presidency. I mean, you had. I am a big supporter of Jimmy Carter.
I know, I like him. I think the general consensus is that it was a boring era of American politics.
He boycotted the goddamn Olympics.
I like the guy. It's just not like scandal. Nixon or Trump.
No, it's not. Well, I mean, there were that level, because during Carter's presidency, there was the whole Iran embassy seizure, the hostage crisis. The movie Argo happens during the Carter administration.
That is true. Was he in the movie? Was there an actor that played Jimmy Carter in the movie? I didn't see that movie.
I don't think so, to be honest. But regardless of all that, I think it's important to also separate people from their ideas. So all Republicans aren't evil. I have known many Republican people that I would have at some point or continue to consider friends, and whether or not that they would vote for Trump or are Republicans at heart but would vote against a Republican candidate at the moment because they don't agree with how the Republicans in the legislature are siding with Trump. I think that it's important to separate some tenets of Republicanism from Paul Ryan's, Mitch McConnell's, and Donald Trump's of Republicanism. Mm-hmm. But in general, I would say that there's also this dichotomy, like a Republican might speak against Trump all the time and say they hate Trump, but then when you look at their voting records, like Captain Video, if you look at senators or representatives that speak out against Trump and look at how their voting records match what Trump wants, it's like a 90-something% match for a lot of them. Mm-hmm. So even so, I think Republicans just need to get checked right now, because the legislative initiative plus the presidential initiative of things that are going to happen at the moment, or things that need to happen from the Republican side, need to be checked. We need to have Democrats in power to check the advances of things like Donald Trump threatening to have an executive order remove birthright citizenship.
But that can't happen.
Ridiculous. I mean, yeah, but
it could
that
happen.
can't happen. But he can find other ways
Yeah,
of
I know.
subverting American.
The idea is in his
Constitution.
head, so he's going to try to find a way around it, right? Just even if he can't do an executive order and have it over with, doesn't mean he's dropping the idea. He dropped. Did you see that video of him where he had the umbrella and he was climbing onto the airplane, and then he just left the umbrella behind him? It is so funny, and it pretty much, it's so fucking amazing. God, this guy is great, but he's comedic goals. He's comedic gold.
It would be funny if it wasn't so sad and infuriating.
It would be funny if he was still on The Apprentice or whatever it's called.
Fair enough.
Or Shark Tank.
I saw an interview where like Jon Stewart and Dave Chappelle were on CNN getting interviewed about Trump and politics, etc.
I saw that too.
And that there was like, did you regret making fun of Donald Trump? And Jon Stewart was like, no, I thought he immediately disqualified himself with his very first speech and campaign entrance where he was down an escalator. And people would have been like, what mall is he at? Why is he on an escalator?
I know.
Fucking moron president.
Anyway,
last check to the president is through the judicial system. And quickly, if we could bring up that this is an interesting case that you brought to my attention that I think is really important to talk about, even if we give it like very short shrift here.
The climate change thing?
Yes.
So yeah, this was a really interesting evolving topic here. Of course, it's still going on. The headline here is Young People Are Suing the Trump Administration Over Climate Change. And then it says she's their lawyer. This is a specific article from the New York Times by John Schwartz. This is, I thought, a really interesting idea. Can people sue a government for, and I guess specifically the people in charge of the government right now, for doing things that are potentially harming the environment, and knowingly doing those things that will potentially harm the environment? So on behalf of 21 plaintiffs, they're aged from 11 to 22, so these are very young people. I can say that now because I'm way older than that now. They're demanding that the government fight climate change. So that might seem kind of vague, but and it is the case that could test whether the judicial branch has major role to play in dealing with global warming and whether there is a constitutional right to a stable and safe climate. So I thought that was a really interesting idea and concept. Do we have a right to a stable and safe climate? And can we just sue the government like this? I think it's a really interesting case that, of course, I believe just recently a court dealing with this, I'm not sure if it was a Supreme Court, but they said that they were not going to throw this case out on any claims currently now. 11-year-old knows about climate change. Yes, exactly. Isn't that cool? I think that these youngsters these young whippersnappers are they're thinking about their futures for once. This is great. I think this is really awesome, and I think it'll be a very long and drawn out case with many different lawyers involved, and scientists as well. I think they'll have to have some sort of expert from the field come in and make claims about certain things. But I was wondering what you thought about it, Yvonne, that sort of concept.
I think it's an intensely interesting thing that people who are not of voting age are attempting to have exert political influence in other ways. So it's intriguing, right, that the average age of people who are in power in America is way older.
Yes.
And they don't believe in climate change. For a lot of almost all Republicans, etc. So like the climate, like the cabinet members who are in charge of designing policy to combat climate change during the Trump administration have instead done away with restrictions that would combat climate change and are intrigued and trying to help oil companies, petrochemical companies do as much as they can to extract wealth over provide a future for the world.
Yes.
So in a time when I keep hearing about microplastics in sea salt or just salt, right? And all this stuff that is happening to damage environments at multiple layers throughout the chain, right?
We keep realizing that it's worse off. It just keeps getting worse.
The UN climate change report, that we have like 10 years to solve climate change. I think that these young people are doing something that I think is actually, it could be a way to get to preserve a life beyond for themselves and beyond them for their children. Because if we don't think 7 generations down the line, I think that we're going to lose a healthy Earth environment, and I think that we're being quite selfish in terms of our usage of products and extraction of resources, and really not providing a template for future generations to use. We're just trying to run out the clock for our own benefit before we have to pass on the buck.
Right. It's it's a very multifaceted topic that we've discussed. Climate change in general, of course, that we've discussed many times on this podcast. Comes up quite often.
It's important to both of us.
But it is important to both of us, and I think we both understand the implications of making plastics, driving your car, that type of thing, burning gas, burning fossil fuels, and even eating meat, that type of thing we've discussed as well. So I think it's really great that they somehow made a case for themselves. I think it's really great that a court is actually considering seeing this trial through. I think that whether or not whatever the outcome is going up to the courts and lawyers and things like that, out of our hands. But I think that the whole idea that this could possibly happen, and that we have a constitutional right to stable and safe climate, I think that could be a cool amendment to the Constitution. And I think it would make a lot of sense, but it certainly wouldn't happen in our current president, with our current president. I don't think he
absolutely
would. But yeah, so today's children, however, so here's just a thing here. Will be 40. So in 2040, the youngest of the plaintiffs, Levi Draheim, I don't know how to pronounce her name, will be 33. So that's in 2040. That's a long time from now. But imagine how, if forecasts are accurate, of course, it's as with meteorology, the science of meteorology and predicting the weather, it can be very difficult. But if what scientists are saying is accurate, and the changes that we're going to see by the year 2040 are happening, this young woman will have a horrible existence, and so will we all if we make it to 2040. So which I plan on doing, but who knows? It's something to really think about, and I really thought this was an interesting trial that I saw on Reddit, actually, of all places. Go Reddit. So yeah, I mean, we don't want to take up too much of your time, of course, because it's probably Monday morning when you're listening to this, and you got to go look up your ballot to see who you got to go vote for. Yvonne, thank you so much for doing this podcast with me. You're
welcome. This week, I'll just say you're welcome.
Thank you very much. And of course, we went a little extra long because we didn't have one last week, but we do post this podcast every single Monday, and I hope you guys want to be part of the next conversation that's happening on Sunday next week. Hopefully. We'll see. Schedules get in the way sometimes. But thank you so much for the bits, cats_pass. I'm sorry we had a little bit of a disagreement about Republicans here. And Captain Vidya, thank you so much. And of course, Divine Hailstorm, you're still in the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. But we end our podcast every single week in a song in a segment called Hungover Radio. This is where you, the listener or viewer, can send in your music to gaminghungover@gmail.com. The links are in the description below, or you get in contact with us some other way. And you can send in your music suggestion. Hopefully it's a song that you wrote and produced, etc., and we can share it with the rest of the people listening to the podcast. Maybe they'll even click on you next time. Free advertisement. Look at that. But if not, then I get to pick one. I thought this was the coolest song, and also the most weebiest song ever. This song is the main theme from the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate soundtrack, a song we've played before, but the Nintendo Direct, the final Nintendo Direct for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, of course, debuted Thursday of last week, but they had this sweet trailer at the end that sort of kicks off their single-player mode, and it starts with this epic Infinity War type situation where, of course, spoilers for Infinity War, half of all the Avengers are dead. But are they dead? Who knows? It has the similar thing where all the Smash Brother characters are dead except for Kirby, and it's like they all their spirits. It's insane. You should go watch the video. But the coolest thing that came out of it for me, aside from obviously the gameplay and things, was this song. They put lyrics to the Smash Brothers song, and it's blowing my mind. I love this song.
They did?
Yeah, it's weird, and it's like it's like a Kingdom Hearts type voice. I don't know who's sings it actually, but whatever. You guys will listen to it. I think it's a really cool song because I'm a weeb, and this is a weeb master weeb Smash Bros game. I'll tell you that much. This is gonna be a great song. Hope you guys enjoy it. And I'll catch you all next week, and Yvonne will too.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Colors weave into a spire of flame. Distant sparks call to a past still unnamed. Bear this torch against the cold of the night. Search your soul and reawaken the undying light. On that day when the sky fell away, our world came to an end. In our eyes did a fading sunrise in the dark, glimmering shadows. Silence grows in the spaces between, stretching out beyond time. Rising up as a chorus of souls finds a voice, flickering through the void. These little sparks cling on to life. Everyone caught in this struggle, and then the storms of change they fan the flames, scattering ashes to the wind. Every soul contains a whisper of light, gleaming faintly as it dwindles from sight. No escape, no greater fate to be made. In the end, the chains of time will not break. Colors weave into a spire of flame. Distant sparks call to a past still unnamed. Bear this torch against the cold of the night. Search your soul and reawaken the undying light. As fate spins a thread without end, new life draws its first breath, blossoming in a soil reclaimed from the past, where destiny holds fast. Here where we stand, hand clenched in hand, everyone caught in this struggle. This is the day